Hello, I'm Sophie. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today, we're just gonna make a little spring soup together. A little soupy. It is warm and comforting, yet packed full of healthy, nutritious springtime ingredients that are going to get your body prepared for the seasons to come. And most of all, in spring, we want to eat a lot of greens, a lot of bitter things. The season of the liver, which is one of our detox organs. So we want to eat things that will support its work. Bitter foods, bitter greens are excellent for that. I have a bunch of ingredients here. I'm going to show you what I'm using. Some of it's optional. If you have other things, you can use it. And if you don't have some of these things, don't worry. It's going to be a loose recipe. The base of our soup is going to be leeks. I also have some onion and shallots. We have fennel, gorgeous asparagus, a springtime delight. I've only had asparagus fresh right out of the ground once, and it was one of the best things I've ever tried. Lots of dill. We have lemon. I have anchovies, capers, mustard, dried mushrooms. They're wild mushrooms. It doesn't actually say what kind they are. Some dried nettles that I foraged last year. Beans. I have fennel seeds and I have nutritional yeast. And of course, we're gonna use lots of pepper and salt and things. So let's begin the soup. We're gonna start with prepping our alliums, because that's the first thing that you want into your pot. These leeks have seen better days, but guess what? We're not even gonna use the green part, so we don't care. Have them lengthways. Leeks are known for being quite dirty. So once these are all chopped up, I'm just gonna put them into a bowl of water so we can wash away any dirt and debris. Now we're just gonna slice up our onion and shallot. I'm using 3 different types of alliums, but if you only had one of these or any combination of onion, that is totally fine. I'm gonna do the same kind of cut on the shallots as I did on the leeks, just cut them in half lengthways. Next we're gonna slice our fennel here. I'm just taking the bottom off, the top, straight down the center, straight down the center of both halves. So now we have quarters, and then you just want to take out, there's like a harder little core piece. Then you're just gonna slice these. Gorgeous. Fennel is great for your heart, for your skin. It's anti-inflammatory. It's delicious. It's cute. Next up, our asparagus. The bottom of the stalks can be a bit woody, so you want to just bend it, and where it snaps naturally is where things start to be more tender. It can snap higher up, so I suggest holding it a bit lower and seeing if you can get it to snap closer. So really try and get as close to the base as you can. Slice it up just a bit over centimeter pieces. Using 5 garlic cloves. We all know garlic is super healthy, good for our immune system, for our lungs. We're using whole fennel seeds. This is how I start all my soups. No matter what kind of soup it is, I'll pick the spices that I'm using and I will toast them whole first in a dry pot. And then I'll add my oil and my alliums and everything after that. They're a really great way to flavor your soups, and they become super tender as you're cooking. So you're not crunching down on a hard seed, and you're also not getting that sort of chalky texture that you get when you use all just dry powdered spices. I connect to the plant more, the whole seed, because I can see that this is the same seed that I would plant if I wanted to grow a fennel plant. And I know what the fennel flower looks like, and I know that it turns to these seeds, and it just makes me really happy. Literally reminds me of spring, when things start to bud, and then you watch everything bloom and then turn to seed, and then winter and the seasons and the cyclical nature of life on Earth. So anyway, that's my seed spiel. Let's get souping. I'm just gonna use this size pot. It's gonna feed 4, I think. I don't want to use a big pot, so we'll risk it with this. Turn it to medium and let it heat up. Once your pot is hot, you're gonna put your whole fennel seeds in. I'm gonna put half a teaspoon. We're gonna measure with our heart for this recipe, okay? You can give them a little shake. As soon as you start to smell them, that is fragrant, so I'm gonna add a good glug of olive oil, probably 2 tablespoons. I'm gonna let that heat up a little bit before adding all of our alliums. We're gonna strain our leeks. Give them an extra little rinse. Onion, fruits in. You can hear that sweet, sweet sound. Some salt. The salt will draw out the water in the onions and help them cook down. We just have to let the onions do their thing here. We want them to be translucent before we add our next ingredients. We can open our beans. Here I have a can of black-eyed peas, but you can use cannellini or navy beans. Bebo. I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit on the onion. Our dill. I'm gonna rinse this. I just remembered I also have some parsley, which is a very, very nutritious herb. This one looks a little bit sad. I used to work on an organic greens farm in Australia like a million years ago, and the farmer was so proud of his parsley. He said it like that. He said parsley, and was always going on about how it's the most nutrient-dense herb. I have to fact check that, but in my heart it is. So let's put it in. I loved working on that farm so much, but it's actually the only job I've ever been fired from. So that's embarrassing because it was actually not paid. See how much the onions have softened, reduced, and they're translucent. In goes the fennel, another little pinch of salt. Give her a mix. Gonna add a bit more olive oil. While the fennel's cooking down, we can prep our herbs. So I'm not gonna be too picky about this, but I am gonna take most of the fronds off of the thicker, woodier parts. Same thing for the parsley. And easiest way to do that is you just hold the stalk, and like every year, spring really creeps up on you. It's like you're waiting all winter for spring. And then once she arrives, you somehow miss the date for when you need to be planting your seeds for the garden. I haven't planted anything yet. I'm hoping to do that tomorrow. This year, I definitely will be planting a lot of edible flowers. It's my favorite thing to grow. More greens, arugula, maybe some kale, spinach, herb, tomatoes, chilies. I'm gonna try some eggplant, maybe some zucchini. My patio isn't very big, so I'll have to get creative and do some vertical contraptions and hanging baskets. Now we can add the garlic. Herbs, we're just gonna do a fine little slicey here. Starting to stick a little bit, so I'm going to deglaze it with some white wine vinegar. If you have wine, it's really good in the soup. A good glug of that. Add the zest of 2 lemons. I'm also going to be adding a couple of anchovy fillets. It won't make the soup taste fishy, but it'll add a really beautiful, savory, deep flavor. If you would rather keep this vegan or you don't like anchovies, you can use capers. 1 to 2, whatever your preference. I'm gonna put 2 in here and they'll just dissolve into the soup. A tablespoon of Dijon mustard. It'll help thicken the soup and it'll also add a gorgeous flavor. We're gonna add our water. Feel free to use any kind of stock instead of water. About 1 inch from the top of the pot. I'm gonna add my dried wild mushrooms. If you don't have dried mushrooms, you could cook mushrooms in the pot. I wish I knew what kind these were. Okay, can I guess? They're all sliced. These look like hedgehog mushrooms. Half a cup in. Maybe I'll put a little bit more. We can also put in our dried nettles now. If you have access to fresh nettles, hell yeah. I'm gonna do a handful of nettles. And if you don't have nettles, don't worry. Salt. I'm gonna taste this to see what the salt levels are. Add a bit more salt, but I'm also adding nutritional yeast, which is salty, so I'm not gonna go too crazy there. Just have to wait till this comes to a simmer. I'm gonna put orzo in the soup. I'm gonna cook the orzo separately because if you cook it in the soup, if you're not eating it all right away, in the fridge overnight, it's gonna absorb all the liquid, it's gonna turn sludgy. Seems like everybody and their dog is doing an orzo soup for spring, so I thought, why the heck won't I? Because guess what? Orzo is my favorite pasta. It has been since I was a kid. Well, the reason is because you basically don't have to chew it. Inhaling a carb without even needing to chew really speaks to me. Just, I'm stoked that Orzo is having a bit of a moment right now. And if you've never tried it, get on it. We're gonna boil some water for the Orzo. I'm gonna cut these lemons in half and juice them so that they are ready to finish off the soup. I'm gonna juice 2, but I might end up only using 1. Soup is boiling, so we're gonna turn it down to a simmer. I'm gonna add our beans in. This is a thick soup, it's almost like a stew. For our pasta water, you know the drill. We want it salty like the sea. And it might sound weird, but you should be tasting your pasta water, because how are you gonna know it's salty like the sea unless that's salty like the sea? We're gonna let the soup simmer now. Maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. Soup is simmering. Our pasta water is boiling. In goes the orzo. You want to make sure to cook whatever pasta you're using al dente, because it's going to soften more in your hot soup broth. Typically it's like a few minutes less than what it says on the packet. I honestly don't think I've ever used the time on a packet. I just taste it. And anyways, this is in Greek, so... Oh, it's very hot. Nutritional yeast, which is high in B vitamins. But if you wanted to use put a parmesan rind in or do some kind of grated parmesan, that would be delicious. Just under half a cup. A shitload of pepper. The asparagus and the herbs I'm gonna put in at the very last minute, because I want the asparagus to keep some of its crunch and not get totally soggy, and the herbs, we just want it to be fresh. Asparagus. Now it's really starting to look like a spring soup. Just tasting the orzo. She's al dente. She's al dente. Straining. What do I mean? I didn't even chew. I know that's not good for your digestion, and all I've been talking about is what's good for your digestion, but all I'm saying, orzo. Final soup test before we plate up. So good, so fresh, but so savory. Lemon juice. Maybe just half of that. Definitely more pepper. What I'm gonna do is put the majority of the herbs into the soup, and I'm gonna leave a good pile to garnish with. These ones will soften a little bit, obviously. Look at that. Oh, stunning. Look at these colors. Plating up, we're gonna do a little ladle full of orzo. I made some chili garlic oil, so I'm gonna put that on top. If you have like a chili crisp oil, you could use that, or you could just drizzle it with fresh olive oil and some chili flakes. We can't forget our herbs. Bit of pepper. Anybody else have a weird thing about utensils? Like, this spoon is my favorite spoon to use for soup. I have so many random spoons, but so many of them I'm like, you would never catch me dead. It's such a nice balance between something very savory and comforting, and then you can taste the freshness of spring coming through. A reflection of our inner landscape at this time of year. Still cozy, but with the sprinkled hopes of spring coming through. How poetic. Like and subscribe for more recipes, to hang out with me in my kitchen, thrift hauls. I'll take you with me on some of my cooking jobs, my private dinners, my catering events. Thank you, have a beautiful day.